So, Bill, Stephen King is one of the greatest writers and I would just say storytellers of all time. How familiar were you with his work? Were you a fan before you got involved in this project?
Yeah, I think it's impossible not to be familiar with him. Um, I knew more of his film adaptations than his novels, um, but and then going into this, I sort of plowed through the novel, in 10 days, which is, I guess, over 100 pages a day, I think. And I really got immersed in his work and his writing, and it feels like, yeah, it's a special thing that to get to do an adaptation of someone of that stature, you know. Like you read it and you read his words and you really try to do. I really try to do his words justice in the performance as well.
What was it about this opportunity that excited you, that appealed to you?
I mean, the fact that the audition itself appealed to me, because I was here in LA, and I was going up for things, auditioning as you do, and most characters that you tend to go up for are they're similar to who you are, you know, especially characters around my age. They're not very sort of character-y, transformational characters that you get to do. It's very close to who you are and how you sound and how you look. So the audition itself was just like, and there's no notes really. It's just like, do Pennywise, and here's the scene, and you get to do whatever you want to do. So I just jumped on the opportunity to just like, I want to transform my look and my sound and my voice and my movement and everything. And I worked really hard for the tape alone. So I was really excited about this from the very, very start. And then once I actually, eventually booked the job, it became terrifying and surreal. But again, just so much fun to be able to do a character that's that different than who you are. I loved it.
Speaking of the character, who is Pennywise in your eyes, and what is it that you think drives him and makes him so horrific?
Yeah, Pennywise is there's the movie, the novel is quite surreal and sort of almost existential in like what it means to even be. And I think there's moments in the novel where Stephen King is hinting on the fact that Pennywise, or it, the entity of it, really relies on the fact that kids can imagine it. So it's almost, there's an idea that he doesn't really exist unless kids believe that he does. So there's this other kind of trans-dimensional realm of where he belongs, and it's sort of between actually existing and something in just kids' imagination. And there's moments in the novel where King writes through the narrative of it, and you have a very kind of simple mind in the way he speaks, very like almost childlike. So for me, Pennywise is very kind of primal and animalistic in his brain functioning, and almost childlike. So he's very clear what he likes, what he doesn't like, and how he functions. And then obviously what he feeds off of is fear. So he would take a shape of whatever fears you the most in order to believe in the fear, which I think is the most important thing, is that you believe the fear to be real, and then you fear it, and then he feeds off of it, and that is sort of what sustains him.
And what did you do as an actor, both on a physical and an emotional level, to get into a character like this who feeds on fear, who hates children?
Yeah, there was a couple of notes I really wanted to hit with the character, and that's one thing is that he's enjoying what he does. There's something so sinister and evil about enjoying the fact that you're eating kids, but also he enjoys playing with his food. So he's playing, and he's mocking, and he's hating, and to an extent, and all those concepts to me was very horrific. And I think the point of the character is to be sort of as horrific and disturbing as it possibly could be. And for me to portray it, it was, I had to make that, for whatever scene that we were doing, very true for me as well. Which is, it's you really need to kind of bring up that energy and find the emotional truth even in such horrific scenes.
And how is it to work with the kids? I mean, they're really talented.
Kids are unbelievable. I loved working with them, and they're all real actors. They're very super professional, super smart, and also just to give credit to Andy for directing them. He just encouraged them so much and encouraged their ideas and their voice. So they felt very safe on set, and they'd been shooting for a month and a half before I started working with them, really. And that was the thing that struck me, was how comfortable and safe the kids felt. They felt like they really felt, that they contributed and that they belonged there. And I think that a lot of that was thanks to Andy, and then the maturity and the talent of the kids. I think that's how you that's how you should approach anyone, for that matter. But listen to them, take them seriously, and encourage them to say what they think and do whatever they feel is right. We had an incredible talent in all of the kids, that they could come up with amazing ideas, and they were just intuitively good at what they were doing. So it made it a lot easier for everybody involved.
How much did you enjoy working with Andy, and what do you think he brought to the table as a director?
Andy, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to. Well, first of all, I don't think I would have been cast without Andy, but I certainly wouldn't have been able to. I think do it without him. He, because it's such an intense and huge undertaking, this character, in terms of the perception of it and what people think of the character from before, and how what their anticipation is for whoever's going to perform and do the character next. It's terrifying, and it was terrifying, and Andy was there believing in me, and I always I needed that external thing, because within my own self-doubt, I could always go like, well, Andy's here, he's really smart, he's really good, and he thinks you can do a good job, so don't worry too much. That really helped me, and I, through him as well, and I trusted him, and we really had very similar thoughts of who the character was. Even like I remember the first time after the auditioning process, and then this was actually before I think I booked the job, but I was in Toronto for a screen test, and I had dinner with Andy, and we sat down and we talked, and I just said all the ideas that I had for what the character could be, and he told me his, and we were like, oh, we really do think alike here. We've sort of found someone, we found, we rarely ever, I don't think we ever argued or had a dispute about anything. It was very clear what we thought the character should be. And I think it's a rarity when it comes to acting, that you find someone that you can collaborate that well with.
Do you like the movie now that you've seen it completed, and how do you look back at the whole experience of being a part of it?
I love the film. I think it's, you know, and I can't. That's not always true, you know, or it's not always a fact when you do press for a film that there's a film that you're proud of or that you like, but you still have to kind of say that you do, or you can't definitely say that the movie that you did was not good. But in this case, it's, I mean, I really do support the film. I think the movie really succeeds where the novel succeeded, in capturing this essence of what it is being a kid and what it means to be afraid and to be sort of alone as a kid and feeling that adults and the whole world is against you and all that you have is your friends and your true friends. I think that is sort of the core essence in the movie, which I think also is such a huge, big part of the novel. And that was kind of what amazed me most when watching the film, is how in essence true it is to the original book, I felt. Yeah, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of Andy. I'm proud of everybody involved in making this film. And I hope and I do think that people would like it.